Well, hello to all the good people in the world. I'm Cindy and welcome to the Say What Show, where we'll be watching a variety of videos purely for informative and entertainment purposes. I'll give my reactions along with commentary, sharing my thoughts and opinions along the way. While you're here, be sure to like, comment, subscribe so you'll be notified every time I whip up something new for you. And since sharing is caring, I care that you share. So go right ahead and share. You can like right now and you can share right now, but in the meantime, in between time, let's get into these videos because I don't want to hold you for too long. Hey, what's up? Gotta give y'all something y'all can feel, huh? All right, welcome to our new subscribers. I see I got some new subscribers, so that's what's up. But yeah, so we're gonna get into this video because it just landed on my lap today. I'm a fan of the Titanic, and Titanic has been a topic of discussion for some months now. For whatever reason, they want to bring it back out, and they want to, I don't know if they lied to us, but about those billionaires that was supposed to in that bogus ass deep diving machine that ended up imploded, or what is it? I think it was imploding, yeah. But anyway, so this video popped in my lap about the Titanic, and I'm like, okay, so when it comes to Black people, unfortunately, a lot of things that happen in white history, we don't really take seriously or really care that deeply about. We just learn, we have to learn when we're in school so we can pass a test, but we're not really trying to, etch it into our memories forever and things like that, or to just like to even research and rediscover and shit like that. No. But I did go see that movie. In fact, I think I cut school to go see that movie with my girlfriend Cole back in the day. And I'm talking about the Titanic movie, 3 hour some movie, okay? And I don't remember any Black people being in the Titanic movie. So I'm like, was it even any Black people that worked in the kitchen or down, when they was pumping the coal or whatever into the ship's engine or something? I don't know, in the engine area. I don't know, but I don't recall seeing any Black people. But anyway, the video that fell into my lap today is a video talking about the only Black passenger that was on the Titanic. Like, was this really the only Black passenger? Like, for real? Like I said, it could have been a job in the kitchen, the engine room, laundry, anywhere else. Huh? It's deep. But we're going to watch this video together because this is the first time that I'm hearing of a Black person that was on the Titanic. Okay? Let's learn this together. So this is a video about the untold stories of the Titanic. This is on the YouTube channel of Noble Maritime Collection. And they posted 7 months ago. So this was before the Ocean Gate situation. But yeah, they dropped some gems on us about the only. They put the only one, the one, okay? So, I mean, I need to care about the one. If I can go see the movie, I went to go see the movie because of who? Leonardo DiCaprio, right? You know what I'm saying? We fuck with him, okay? So we went to go see the movie because of him. Okay, they knew what they did when they put him in the movie. But we didn't care about the history behind it. We didn't know that the fathers of the world who created the way that, do everything as far as education-wise, as far as monetary, as far as, the Federal Reserve. We didn't know all these people was on the damn Titanic. All right, let's watch this video.
Good evening. I'm Dawn Daniels, Director of Programs at the Noble Maritime Collection, and I am here to welcome you to the Noble on Watch lecture and concert series. We are pleased to present the first lecture in our 2-part program, Untold Stories of the Titanic. This program explores stories that you probably haven't heard before about the fateful voyage and its passengers. I am delighted to introduce Kelly Carter Jackson, PhD. She is the Naval Assistant Professor of Humanities in the Department of Africana Studies at Wellesley College and is here this evening to present Untold Stories of the Titanic Part 1, The Only Black Passenger.
Sidebar. I'm watching this lady, and like to me, she reading something while she doing this video. I put so much pressure on myself to try to memorize stuff, so it don't look like I'm reading. I just want to, because I like to write down my thoughts before I actually convey them. So sometimes, forget that, okay? I'm just saying, I see the girl read. It's cool to see when people do stuff that I try not to do, and they professionals. Let's go. Untold Stories of the Titanic.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to be able to bring this topic presentation to you, giving you a whole history of the story of Joseph Philippe Lemercier Laroche. So oftentimes when I'm telling people about my research, they'll stop me in the middle of a sentence and say, wait a second, there was a black person on the Titanic? And I always give a little chuckle because I think that when we think about the Titanic, we think of it as an affluent space with wealthy people and Europeans, and we typically don't expect to see a black person on the ship. But there actually was, and there's a whole history of who he is, his wife, his family, and his descendants. And I'm so excited to be able to share that story with you today. I think most of us are introduced to the Titanic through history. But if you're like a lot of my students, you know most of this history through film. So if you've ever seen the film Titanic by James Cameron, and I'm sure many of you have, given that it was the first film to gross $8 billion in profit. And when it was debuted again in 2012, it actually debuted another $1 billion. But it's also become one of the most famous films for its romance between Jack Dawson and Rose DeWitt-Cater. And I think that when we think of this romance and we think of the soundtrack of Celine Dion and, Rose sort of on the ship with her hair blowing in the wind, it really is one of the most iconic romantic scenes.
Facts. Woo, that was the part right there. She already know. Women was thinking about being with Leonardo DiCaprio, okay? Sure. I'm trying to tell you.
In all of cinematic history. And I wondered, what would this film look like, and how would we imagine this film if we were to replace Jack and Rose with the love story of Joseph and Juliet? So who are Joseph and Juliet? That's what I want to talk to you about today. When we think about Joseph Philippe Lemercier Laroche, and I say Laroche because I'm so used to mispronouncing his name. Oftentimes people think it's Larouche, but it sounds like posh Laroche.
Sorry, y'all. How come every time a black man gonna get him a white woman, he always gotta get the least attractive one? It ain't all the time, but a lot of times, okay? And a lot of times the black men that the white women end up getting the black men that the black women don't even want. Like, that's why the weird ones out there. My baby always be like, man, why you gotta have a white woman? Because ain't no black woman fucking with that. You'll do weird. I mean, unless you can find a weird one. I don't know, but I'm just saying. That woman jawline though, she was real puffy all up in here. Like, but you just happy to get him one. I know. Let's go.
Laroche. When we think of Joseph Laroche and his French wife, he is a Haitian man, and they are boarding the ship to see his family in the island of Haiti. It is 1912, and Laroche is the only black passenger on the Titanic. Laroche and Juliet and their two small daughters, 3-year-old Simone and nearly 2-year-old Louise, are traveling to start new lives. Their second-class passengers are the RMS Titanic en route from Southampton to New York City, and eventually from New York City on another ship that will take them all the way to their home in Haiti. Laroche was born in Cape Haitian, Haiti on May 26, 1886. At the age of 15, he traveled to Beauvais, France to study engineering. And when Laroche struggled to find employment and to overcome discrimination based on his race, he decided to look outside of France to provide for his growing family. And I think this is really important because oftentimes we don't realize that there's discrimination also happening in France as well. And while there are jobs that Laroche could take, sometimes he was employed but paid underneath what he should have been paid. And it was a struggle for him, particularly because his youngest daughter was always sickly, and so medical bills were piling up for his family. By the time he decided to look for another place of employment in his home of Haiti, Juliet was pregnant with their third child.
I mean, but it's pretty cool to know. Everyone in America seems to think that all black people were slaves. But yeah, he's a second class citizen, but he was out here working and, competing for wages out here. Black men still underpaid today. Okay, and women even more underpaid. So, I mean, but he was chasing his cheddar, nothing wrong with chasing the cheddar. I hope he got it down that goddamn boat.
I have a son whom they hoped would be born on the same island as his father. When Laroche's mother learned her son and his family would be making their way to Haiti, she purchased them 4 first-class tickets on a ship called La France. However, at the time, French liners would not allow children to be seated with their parents in the ship's restaurants. And Juliet and Joseph did not want their children to be away from them or regulated to the ship's nursery. So in frustration, they exchanged their first-class tickets for second-class tickets on the brand new starliner, the Titanic.
Oh, isn't that something? That's juicy. So they weren't even supposed to be on the Titanic, but all because the La France ship wouldn't allow their babies to sit in the dining hall and eat with them. They had to purchase tickets somewhere else. I think I got a refund. I don't know how refunds used to go back in these days, but I hope they got a refund. That's bogus. So they end up, that Titanic. Did they survive? We're going to find out.
April 10, 1912, they boarded the ship along with 2,224 other passengers and crew. And of course, they would not know that this ship would go down in infamy for one of the greatest ships to ever sink. But if you think about what the decision they were making at the time, they thought they were enacting on the best interest of their children and their family. The story of Laroche, his French wife Juliet Lafarge, and their descendants is largely unknown. And it troubles the assumption of an all-white Titanic narrative held commonly within the United States and throughout the world. It is my hope to be able to place Laroche in a larger moment, a moment that provides historical context for understanding the macro and micro consequences of Black migration and movement. While much has been researched on the Titanic regarding its construction, crew, and passengers, I examine this unexplored aspect of race. For many African Americans, the Titanic represented the ultimate symbol of white hubris. Indeed, in Black memory and literature, the Titanic became a vehicle of jokes and wrote some legends about a possible Black passenger. In oral tradition, African Americans had developed a character named Shine, a Black man who jumps into the water during the sinking of the ship and saves himself by swimming to shore.
That's
Shine was used to mock
that's funny.
The passengers with lines such as this. Captain said, "Shine, shine, save for me. I'll make you richer than old John D." Shine turned around and took another notion. "Say, Captain, your money's counterfeit in this big-ass ocean." And these bros were meant to be hilarious. They were meant to be funny, shared among groups of people. And they were meant to mock the idea that people thought a ship could be unsinkable, or mock the hubris of the wealthy, and to sort of make light of the fact that no Black person would find themselves on a ship like that.
Man, that's all I'm saying. When the Onion put in that little article that the the Titan at Ocean Gate should have been tested with poor people first before putting billionaires on there. No, all right, y'all. If y'all watch that video, y'all know how I feel about that. That's not. Yeah, y'all must not know poor people. That's the problem. Wealthy people don't know poor people. They don't know what we will or what I do. They just got their prejudice.
This, particularly because the ship was so fluent. The practice of rocking in mourning is how many people came to understand the tragedy of the Titanic and Black Thought. The sinking of the Titanic was a small but significant way of assuaging black grievances from white terrorism during what Rayford Logan called the new year of racial politics.
You say they had a party?
And this is a moment in which, it's an intense racial period in American history in which racial violence was quite common. In 1912, Charles Hafer, a black composer, wrote a song about the Titanic, and that song sold 3,000 copies. Black Americans were angered by the humanity of millionaires. Scholar Lawrence Levine argued that no other contemporary tragedy was as celebrated in black religious song as the sinking of the Titanic. Though Laroche never stepped foot in America, the connection between the Titanic.
I didn't know that black people felt this way about the Titanic. Like, God, dog. I mean, I thought it was, like I said, a good movie, but I mean, as far as like all the history behind it, I just never cared to even look into the history. But to know the history that my people was like, they weren't feeling it and they laughed at it and applauded the sinking of the ship. Like that's deep. Making jokes and stuff about it. That's real deep. And I'm here just trying to wonder if we was on a goddamn boat.
Titanic and black mobility is critical. I think if it were widely known that an elite person of African descent traveled aboard the Titanic, it wouldn't matter, particularly for African Americans. For black people, the Titanic was not about tragedy, but about access to spaces white people coveted. So today I really want to explore the life of the one and only black passenger on the Titanic and his family. What must it have been like to travel?
Thank you, sister. Thank you. Tell me something.
Of a Wild Black, on what many consider to be the world's premier ship as among the world's most wealthiest passengers. It's important to note that Laroche was not traveling as part of the crew or even in the third class. As I mentioned before, he was traveling second class. He was also part of a black elite.
So you mean to tell me that, like I said, couldn't no black people even be on a crew or a part of the third class? That was the original blacks. them poor whites. They was a third class. It was the crew members, I guess. I don't know. They had those horrific jobs before we started getting them. It's so funny how black people have been wanting to have the opportunities of whites for so many generations and years and years, and here we are. Now y'all don't even want the jobs. Y'all don't even want to work no more. Y'all like, this working shit is some bullshit. This working shit is slavery. At first, y'all wanted to earn a check, not y'all, but y'all ancestors. Y'all ancestors understood that it means a lot to be able to earn off of your own labor and to be able to feed your family and take care of your family and things like that. But nowadays it's like, yeah, but you don't got to go work to do all that. You can do other things and still be able to do that. So it's just a new world. But I'm just saying, like, this is crazy back then, huh?
He spoke French and Creole and English fluently. Laroche was also a descendant of the first ruler of independent Haiti, Jean-Jacques Dessalines. And in 1912, his...
Y'all see that? Who he looked like to y'all? He looked like a black version Napoleon, don't he? I'm just saying.
Uncle Cincinnatus Pecan was also the great grandson of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, was the president of Haiti. His voyage allows us to better understand the possibilities of Black advancement in the
That name look like Cincinnati. I'm just saying.
Titanic moment. And I think this is really interesting because oftentimes when I tell people this story, first, they're shocked that there was a Black passenger on the Titanic. But second, they're shocked to find out that he wasn't.
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
Crew, that he wasn't, working somewhere down in the belly of the ship, that he was a second class passenger who was gifted and talented and of high class.
That's where Black excellence come from. I want y'all to know. Back in those European times, when Black people were, able to go to school and work alongside white European people, let me tell you, they had to be the best. Like, they had to excellence. That's where the Black excellence come from. Like, you have to be excellent. You can't just come in and just do as they do and then expect to be treated the same. Like, no, you have to be like, you have to work twice as hard. You have to do twice as much, and you're gonna have to, shine twice as hard. Like, so that's Black excellence. That's where Black excellence come from. The way y'all talk about Black excellence, everybody not that excellent. I'm just saying. I mean, y'all. I mean, in the light of being positive, yes, you're excellent. But as far as from what they had to do and where they were, and if you're not elite, if you ain't out here like really pulling in that bag, then I mean that's the Black excellence. Then that's hashtag Black excellence. Everybody can hashtag Black excellence, okay?
So conversely, Laroche also demonstrates the limitations of Black advancement in a racially hostile world. Despite his pedigree and personal accomplishments, he struggled to find steady employment in France and was unable to provide for his family by day.
Even still, he was better than probably most of the citizens in that town, and still couldn't even get a damn job. Spoke 3 languages. Did you say 3 languages? Still couldn't get a job. Probably played instruments, probably did some fencing, probably did all types of stuff, okay? And still couldn't get a job. That's sad.
Prompting the return for him to return home to Haiti in 1912. I think it's not enough to simply state that Laroche existed. It's more important to address how his existence decenters the U.S. focus of the Titanic narrative and broadens it to include others that can speak to the harsh inequity and possibilities of the lived Black experience. Laroche's life, largely unnoted life, demonstrates how we have imagined Atlantic travel as a set of white privileges. His life story reveals the seemingly inescapable grasp of tragedy and demise that follow Black people wherever they venture, even in their attempts to travel home. So let's get into who Laroche was before he gets to France, while he's in France, and then what prompts his return home. In 1901, Laroche was a brilliant student. He wanted to be an engineer, so he did what
as handsome as he wanted to be.
Others did when they wanted to pursue their educational and professional pursuits. They left the island. There were no engineering schools in Haiti, and Laroche traveled with his instructor, Monsieur Cuson.
A whole engineer? Man, that's a gut pain field to be in. Like, he couldn't even get a job. That's some bullshit.
The Lord Bishop of Haiti, and they lived in his home while attending school in Bouffay and later in Lyon. He attended the Graduate School of Industrial and Commercial Studies at Catholic University in Lyon from 1904 to 1907, and he completed his 3-year degree in the area of manufacturing. When he met his wife, Juliette Lafarge, through his instructor, they became friends and soon lovers.
See, I ain't gonna hate on her jawline. I mean, it's very profound, but I mean, she probably a really good woman with a really good heart, and she got a small waistline. So, I mean, it's okay. Her jawline is bigger than her waistline. Like, it's okay. Like, she's good people.
After Laroche graduated school, the couple married in March of 1908 in the home of the Lamards in the city of Villeneuve, a city just outside of Paris. In March of 1908, Laroche had found his partner in life, but securing his profession did not come with the same amount of ease. Despite his degrees and qualifications, racial discrimination in France was common and stifling. Laroche could not find steady employment, and after being out of the cheated wages he deserved for his work and talent, he began to become depressed. Employment was not just scarce, it was not scarce for someone of his skills. He knew his talents were needed. And like I said, when he did find work, his employers made excuses that he was young and inexperienced to justify his poor pay.
Let me tell y'all something. It's weird, but with a name like Sonequa and having this beautiful melanated skin, I don't have the easiest job or I don't have the easiest time getting employment as, like callbacks. Like a lot of jobs that I end up getting, it's like divine intervention or usually by, me knowing someone and they pulling me in or something like that. But other than that, let me tell you, my mama did a number on me, which is Sonequa, for one. And then for two, I am who I am. I'm a very colorful person. Like I'm talking about not just the melanation, I'm talking about my personality, my hair. My nails is all one color today, but I've been upon people who's the rainbow bright bitch like my whole life. But I'm just saying, like, so a lot of times I feel like those racial bias, people be talking about equal opportunities and shit like that, and they job in the nerve for, Supreme Court. So the ruling of the Supreme Court to end affirmative action would make U.S. doctors less diverse. That's what they saying on that one. But so with that situation, okay, like that really helps white people out more so, or anyone who claims to be white, than it does any minority. Okay, not so much as black people, although these affirmative action amendments and things like that was fought for in bills and laws passed for black people, but now it's for immigrants and shit like that. But the thing is that them getting rid of that is going to lessen the amount, like they said, of diversity of other races getting the chance to get a job. Like already, when you look at most jobs, okay, if it's not black owned, Indian owned, Mexican owned, or Asian owned, whether it's Chinese, Korean, Japanese, whatever, because a lot of those people, they hire their own people, okay? They do. Black people too. That's why I'm telling my friends they got businesses, ain't nothing wrong with just hiring, us, okay? Because other races do it for their selves. They hire their own people. So it's okay, okay? But at the same token, I'm just saying when it comes to bigger jobs and corporations or, where the money at, those places are locked down. Like the percentage, like they could at least split the percentage of races up based off the ethnicity of that city or whatever. Like let's say, for instance, if you're saying that white people make up 50%, black people make up 13.6%, and the Mexicans make up, 20% or whatever. Like that should reflect in your board. That should reflect up in HR. That should reflect up in accounting. That should reflect in every department. It should reflect in the whole, like all jobs. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be Like, okay, when y'all looking at corporate, there's no like black faces. There's no like nothing else but just white faces. They were all white. That's what my baby always say. Because pretty much everywhere we look, they're all white. And so I'm just saying, this racist like situation, not racist, but this race bias, situations that keep us from getting opportunities, okay, because of our skin, because that's really what it boils down to, because, we're black, or back in those time, more, okay, but she's saying he's Haitian, probably won't even claim him being Moorish, but I'm just saying that's what they used to call black people back then, was Moorish people. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's the reason why he was having a hard time getting a job. More so, not because of anything. It wasn't about anything else. He met the qualifications. I meet the qualifications. I may not have all the degrees and things like that, or speak all the different languages, but guess what? I have more experience in my field that I am well reversed in than most doctors who went to school. Like, so, I mean, and that's not me just blowing my horn, but I'm just saying, whatever. But they do undercut the system as well with pay, okay? And this is why I had to get up out of other places, okay? Because they'll bring other people in of other, situations, give them more money, especially home people. When they bring their own people in, give them more money, and then they come in and can't do shit, don't know shit, can't do shit, but getting paid more than you. That's fucked up. What is that about? If it ain't color. I'm just saying. And like I said, I know I get skipped over a lot of jobs because of my name off top. My name say black. Okay? Now we probably got a couple of white, Saniquas out here in the world, what I'm saying now, because the world has changed. But I'm just saying I was one of the original, what I'm saying, originator Saniqua. But let's get back to this video.
Okay. Titanic scholar Judith Geller claimed, quote, no matter how qualified he was, the blackness of his skin kept him from securing a position that paid his worth.
I'm just saying.
So almost a year into his marriage, June 18th of 1909, Julie gave birth to her first daughter, Simone. And 17 months later,
they got their mother's jawline. They so cute.
they gave birth again to Louise. But Louise's birth was complicated. She arrived prematurely, and as a result suffered from health problems the first several years of her life. With each major change in the lives of the Laroches, the expenses compounded. With unemployment or underemployment, Louise's medical expenses were crippling her finances. They were living with Juliet's father, but Laroche desperately wanted to be able to provide for his own.
I swear the medical industry is a sham. I swear. Like, let's talk about that real quick. It's like, why, when you live in a world that actually make money off of your existence, do you have to pay to be well to continue to work for these people so they can take money from you? Like, these are one of the things that citizens nowhere should ever have to be concerned with, paying for health care to be well. You know what I'm saying? Like, this helps you, right? This helps you. But it's like we're just in a constant, state of being just drained, just messed up. I mean, I don't care about the things that go in the world. Just a little bit. I do. I do. But I'm just saying, like, not that much.
The family. The solution to his problems prompted him to return home to Haiti. And it's interesting because Laroche is writing to his family and he's telling them that he wants to come home. We found a copy of a postcard from his cousin that is encouraging him and telling him, don't worry, one day you'll be able to return home. One day you'll be able to come back to Haiti. But the idea that Haiti was a goal of his, I think, is really important to note that he was not necessarily set on settling in France, at least not forever. So we know that because in Haiti, Laroche could find work in his virtually all-black homeland, his uncle and the president of Haiti promised to appoint him as a professorship as a mathematician and pay him $200 a month, which was more than a modest salary at the time. In time, his uncle informed him that he could eventually work his way up to headmaster if he chose. Juliet agreed to make the trip with him and to make Haiti their new home. They planned to leave in 1913. But when Juliet discovered that she was pregnant with their third child, they decided it was better to travel pregnant with 2 children than to make the long, laborious trip with 3 little ones in tow. And as a mom of 3, I can tell you, you will be outnumbered very quickly. So the excitement and the anxiety that filled them as they made their plans to travel to this new land, as you can imagine, was one that they all thought about constantly leading up to their day of travel. When they finally boarded the Titanic at 7 p.m. on April 10th, after taking a train from Paris to Cherbourg, an unimaginable sight was before them. Derived from the Greek mythology, the RMS Titanic meant gigantic. And Juliet wrote to her father, quote, "If you could see this monster, our tender looked like a fly compared to her." She told him that their arrangements could not be more comfortable, and that she counted.
You know what they say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
At least 20 other children in second-class accommodations as well. And this is also interesting because if you've ever had trouble with children, you know how important it is to have other children around that can keep your children company, that can entertain one another as they make this long, several-week-long trip. Interestingly, scholars have noted that nowhere in the copious press covers of the ship and the interviews for survivors was a black family ever mentioned. The White Star Line was known for passengers and crew hauling racial slurs at various ethnic groups. In fact, the White Star Line was forced to apologize to its crew's derogatory comments made about Italians. But Titanic scholar Judith Geber claimed, quote, "The only known..."
Yeah, I know Italians was niggas too, huh? Don't tell them that. They hate us. I mean, I don't know. It's like everyone is taught to hate us. But, like, why? Such lovely people.
Mention of Simone and Louise Laroche was made by Kate Voss in a letter home. Quote, "There are 2 of the finest little Japanese girls, about 3 or 4 years old, who look like dolls running about the ship." And I think this is interesting because the girls are mixed race and they were very fair skinned. So oftentimes when standing with their mother, people were not able to decipher what their ethnic background was. And standing with their father, they might be a little bit even more confused. But as the girls grew into adults, Simone and Louise remained very fair skinned. And it was never really clear or readily present what their racial background was other than white. And particularly, people would assume they were white when standing next.
See what I'm saying? The confusion begins.
To their mother. So, as they're on the ship, 4 days into their travel, on April 14th, the voyage, and 4 days into their voyage, the unthinkable happened. The Titanic struck an iceberg at approximately 11:40 p.m. There was no way to recover. The collision forced the ship's hull plates to collapse inwards. 5 of the Titanic's 16 watertight seaside compartments opened. The ship only had capacity to maintain 4 flooded compartments. Panic spread throughout the ship within minutes. Of the 2,222 passengers, it is estimated that only 705 people were rescued from lifeboats that boarded and were able to board the Carpathia. Julia and her two daughters were among those survivors. In an interview for Le Matin, Juliet was beside herself. Through her sobs, she recalled the terror she experienced. Quote, people jostled each other. They were completely engulfed. Crowded by people on every side of her, Juliet did all she could to keep her children close by. The pushing and the shoving was unbearable. And Juliet was not only struggling to keep her daughters by her side, she was also early in her pregnancy. Juliet and Simone were separated from Joseph and Louise and literally thrown into a lifeboat. Just as Juliet secured herself and Simone, she saw on a bridge through the crowd Joseph. He was holding on to Louise with everything he had, trying to protect her from the constant pushing. As he neared his wife, he had a confrontation with one of the sailors. He was trying to convince them that his daughter and his wife had been separated from him. It was likely the crew did not readily believe that Louise was his daughter, or perhaps that this white woman was not his wife. Either way, now was not the time to play identity politics. There was panic all around them. Chaos ensued everywhere. As he continued to plead his case, someone seized Louise and placed her in the arms of Juliet. Juliet had little time to speak to her husband. Within minutes, the rowboat was descending toward the sea with a rapid speed. How would she find him? How would he find them? Which lifeboat would allow him to board, particularly as a black man? And above all the noise, Juliet heard Joseph shouting words of encouragement. See you soon, dear.
That's so messed up.
He assured her. There will be room for everyone in the lifeboat. Look after our girls. See you soon. And with that, the rowboat plunged into the sea. Now we know that.
Man, y'all hear that? This will make a good movie, though. It would. Like, seriously, if they were to do a movie based off of this situation, that'd be interesting to see. I hope they do.
During this particular time, women and children were said to have been put in lifeboats first. So with that, we knew that the opportunity for Joseph to get in a lifeboat himself would also be slightly restricted. And we know that his race would have possibly restricted him even more. So we're not clear as to what happened to Joseph.
So sad. All he wanted to do was go back home to Haiti and end up dying tragically. Talking about, so we don't know what happened to him. Can't fish food.
Laroche, if he was down with the ship, but we know that he drowned and did not survive. But all during the commotion, and if you can remember, it's the middle of the night, it's past midnight, it's 1 a.m., it's 2 a.m. Juliet has no idea what has happened to Joseph, where he is, or where he might be.
Poor Julia. Now she's stuck with 3 kids and no husband, right? And she only agreed to go to Haiti, to be with her family. Like, I don't know if she went back to Europe or what, to be back with her family. Because she can't go to, I don't know what happened. Oh, Julia.
As day broke, Juliet searched the horizon for the silhouette of the Titanic. She thought they must have rowed a great distance away from the ship. She never witnessed the ocean swallowing the great liner. She recalled hours passed like centuries, until finally at 7 in the morning, deliverance arrived. Officers of the RMS Carpathia told the rescued not to worry. Quote, other ships beside ours have gone to the Titanic and are at this moment on their way to New York, where you will meet them all again. The crew gave everyone false assurances, and part of this was because they wanted to keep the passengers calm. When the remaining survivors reached New York City, they learned the conclusion.
Do you prefer people to lie to you to keep you calm, or do you prefer if someone just tells you the truth in a calm manner and, just try to, get you just to be cool about it. Like, but I want to know the truth personally. I'm option B. Goddamn it. That's what I am. Like, tell me the truth. Like, don't lie to me. I mean, just let me deal with it from that point, okay? Mm-mm.
Plain truth. That there would be no husbands, brothers, or fathers waiting for them, and no ship that would be arrived after them. Laroche was lost to the sea, and Juliet was all on her own. New York City was a foreign place to Juliet. In the panic to leave, Joseph had thrown out his coat and kept all of their money and precious jewels on his person.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? So when he pushed his wife with his 2 children and one soon to come on that boat, and he knew he wasn't going to get off that goddamn boat. He had to know that he wasn't going to get off that damn boat. He could have given her all the money and the jewels. Now, if they ain't like a nigga, I ain't, boy, I tell you right there, boy, you bogus in the mother.
Juliet was penniless and pregnant. She also did not speak English. It took her about 3 weeks for her and her girls to make the return trip to Paris on a French liner called Chicago.
I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry. He like, you know what? He was gonna go down with his own money and jewels. He was, or maybe he just wasn't thinking, he was in panic. But for him to be so smart and speak so many languages, I would have thought that, but that's because people go to school and read books and got all these degrees, so they can smart. I'm just saying, common sense ain't coming.
Okay. And if you can imagine having this, horrible act happen to you, this trauma, and then weeks later having to board a ship again, hoping that there's not a repeat of
PTSD.
What happens. The ship home could be nothing but terrifying and also grievous, and the fact that they were still mourning the fact that her husband and the father of her children was not with them. When she arrived in Paris, her father was waiting for them, equally grief-stricken. She told her father that Joseph had endeavored to reassure her and asserted to her that he would have been saved as she was. Through her tears, Juliet could not stop repeating in her pain, I believed him. I believed him. If she had known what was about to happen, she would have never agreed to leave him. Juliet blamed herself for her husband's death. She believed that had she not insisted on changing their tickets from France to the Titanic, all of this could have been avoided. And while historians rarely engage in counterfactuals, destruction still could have followed them. Just 4 months after the Titanic sank, Laroche's uncle and the president of Haiti was assassinated. LeConte died in what many suspected to be foul play. There was a bombing that happened at the palace, an explosion that took place at the palace that killed the president and several of his cabinet members. Furthermore, a few years after that, U.S. occupation of Haiti begins in 1915 and lasts about 20 years until 1934. So even if they had made it to the island of Haiti, politically, socially, and even economically, their lives would have been quite precarious. After the Titanic, Juliet pledged to leave the past in the past. She was intensely fearful of journalists. She hated recounting her story. And that's understandable. She blamed herself. She wanted to be left to grieve her husband without spectacle. She told her children to never speak of the Titanic. She not only suppressed her past, but she also buried it. Literally, in 1940, when Nazi Germany invaded France, Juliet lived in fear that authorities would not only be seeking out Jewish people, but anyone who seemed different. She worried that people would question the complexion of her daughter's skin. So she buried her suitcase in the backyard that contained every single picture or image that would have linked her children to a Black father.
Oh my God.
Once again, anti-Blackness placed Laroche's family at risk. The suitcase remained buried in the backyard for 6 years. And
Always in 6 years. But they be throwing them numbers like that.
Till she was assured that the Nazis would not return. So I want to think about some concluding ideas as we think about what it means to be Black on a ship called the Titanic and what your experience might be like. We do know that while Laroche was on the ship, he was treated very well. He engaged with a lot of the wealthy people and powerful people on the ship who were impressed by his ability to speak multiple languages. But in the end, none of that could save him from the sinking of this ship. And oftentimes I think that we are unaware that there was a Black person on the ship because his wife was French and their daughters almost looked white. And so we don't have something that readily points or triggers to us to a Black family on the ship. But I think oftentimes when we think about our fascination with the Titanic, our obsession with this unsinkable ship, it also encapsulates how much we understand about power and whiteness and privilege. I think Laroche connects many Black people to a moment that until recently did not warrant any collective Black remorse. But oftentimes I make the argument that you really can't separate race and mobility. Often they are tied together hand in hand. So I ask the question when thinking about who Laroche is, I ask who gets to move to certain places? Who has to stay in certain places? Who gets to decide who's pushed into another place, who's pulled into another place? And most importantly, how do we decide who gets access to some of the most coveted spaces? And those coveted spaces aren't just limited to the Titanic itself. Those coveted spaces were limited to the lifeboats in the aftermath of the sinking of the Titanic. I think these are all questions worthy of thinking about, worthy of our investigation. But most importantly, I'm happy to be able to introduce someone that people may not be aware of. The life of Joseph Philippe Lemercier Laroche, his wife Juliette, and their daughters Simone and Louise. I'm really happy to have this time to share with you today. I hope you will take this information and look a little bit deeper and further to find out more information, not just about the Titanic, but about the passengers on the Titanic as well.
Well, thank you for that informative information. There we have it. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I never knew it was Black people on the Titanic. I didn't recall seeing them in the movie. I feel like I need to watch the movie again just to see if any Black people was on the movie, but I don't think they was. So I didn't even think that there were any Black people on the Titanic at all. But we found out today that Laroche, Joseph Laroche, I ain't gonna try to say his whole name, he was on the boat and he was a Black man. And yeah, the only Black passenger on the dang on Titanic who, like she said, with all his advantages and accolades and education and, languages he learned and everything like that, he still couldn't, save, a lot of people actually. I mean, I think she said it was like 2022 people on the boat. Is that what she said? And then like only 600 something, probably like 700 something people actually survived in the end. So I mean, a lot of people died. A lot of people died. Unfortunately, not even the one only Black passenger on the Titanic couldn't be saved. Affirmative action didn't help him out. Anyway, thanks for stopping by the Say What show, and have a blessed day. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe so you be notified. And yeah, share. It's okay. Do it now. Bye bye.